Shane the Dane Carr, how are you keeping? Very, very empty gym behind you there. It must bring tears to your eyes.
Yeah, it doesn't make me happy, man. It doesn't make me happy. But this is what it is, you know. We've got to look after the health of our people, man.
So tell me something. Let's just talk lockdown. I mean, it's the big word, COVID-19. It's the big thing that's impacting us all right now. I mean, you are partner, you're founder to Valhalla MMA. You're part of the Gracie business as well. You know, we look at Gracie Alberton, Gracie Randburg. A big impact that this COVID-19 has had on your business.
Yeah, we've taken quite a knock with it. Look, I think most of the gyms in South Africa, I don't think we speak for ourselves yet, but I think most of the gyms in South Africa are going to be taking a knock from this. You know, with us not being allowed to open, and I think we're only allowed to open in level 1. It's tedious, and you know, I tell you, one of the things that's saving us is our loyal members. You know, students who are still, even though they're not training, they're still paying their gym fees. And as a coach, we kind of like trying to give them value for money, doing like instructional videos or Zoom videos. So we're trying to give back as much as we can.
If you look at this new, let's call it the new normal, obviously a gym like yourself, when it comes to grappling, when it comes to fighting arts, it's very much a touchy-feely thing. You need to feel it. You need to be able to experience it. You actually need to feel your opponent's sweat, if I could actually use that as a, you know,
Yeah.
as a concept. And obviously that flies in the face of everything that government, this entire virus is about. These Zoom training sessions, these Zoom educationals that you're putting on, is this a potential new normal for you guys going into the future?
I don't see how it could ever be. You know, the videos are great. The guys can go home and they can do their technique that they've seen in the videos. They can work on their movement. They can work on their fitness in their own time. You know, but you have to have that one-on-one contact with somebody. Otherwise, it's not grappling, or it's not jiu-jitsu, or it's not MMA. You know, you can only hit a bag for so long. The bag doesn't hit back. So there's a factor of what you're learning that you are missing out on, and that you are not learning. So it's a give and take kind of thing. But for grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you have to have a partner. That's just how it is. You know, and I can see once we do we're allowed to open, there's going to have to be strict measurements that happen at every single gym. We're going to have to keep logs. We're going to have to take temperatures. We're going to have to make sure everybody's sterilized, or you know, those kind of things. Like even now with the gym being closed, I still come in over here at least once a week and I clean it. You know, just even though there's nobody in here, I needed to have a clean space for when we do come back, which gives peace of mind to everybody that pulls in here. You know.
Shane, just looking, obviously you mentioned earlier what's keeping yourself going and many other gyms, although I have heard other very horrendous stories about a lot of other gyms having closed down already. Has been the loyalty and many of your members. But I can well imagine you've lost a lot of members up until now.
Yeah, we've lost quite a few already. And I can't hold anybody accountable. I can't blame anybody. You know, people got to put food on the table. They've got families of their own to look after. So it's a real hard thing. Look, on the bright side as well, I've got to say, for some reason during this, I've been getting a lot of contact from people who are wanting to join the gym. You know, guys who are telling me as soon as the lockdown's over, they'll definitely be a member and they want to pull in. So there's a plus side to this. I don't know why that is happening, but I think maybe just people want to get out of the house, and as soon as they get the opportunity to get out of the house, they want to train. But yeah, we have lost a few of our members. We've still got some few loyal ones that still pay and still log in with the Zoom videos and still use the instructional videos. We're waiting now for this coming week to hear what the president's got to say, because he mentioned something about easing training times, or training like what you're allowed to train. So if it is eased up a little bit, we are actually looking at getting a bunch of us together on a big open field and using social distancing measures around us, having masks on, and maybe doing some training like that.
Yeah, well, we can only hope that there's going to be a little bit more easing, because 6 to 9 in the morning is becoming very difficult especially bearing in mind that we're moving into winter. It's going to almost be dark for half of that period of time. So not many people are going to be training, and then suddenly there's going to rush of people for the last sort of hour, hour and a half.
Yeah, of course. That time zone doesn't make a lot of sense to myself either. You know, we're in flu season now. You want people to go out in the cold and go and run. It doesn't make sense. You know, but it's beyond us. It's not anything we have control over.
Shane, I know you and I have been talking quite a little bit ahead of this discussion, and yes, it's a tough time for many businesses. And let's talk specifically gyms. Your gym, a very empty space behind you. You did mention that your landlord has come to the party, has given a bit of assistance for the foreseeable future. You're not too sure how understanding landlords are going to be should this go into months 4, 5, and 6 potentially, as a lot of people are talking. But some assistance from your landlord. Tell us more.
Yeah, you know, we've paid up this last month, and we'll probably be okay for the next month. But after that, I did send her an email, and I explained everything to her, and I said to her, you know, I just played open cards with her, and I said to her, there's a good chance I'm not going to be able to pay rent in the coming months. And then she said, and I said to her, look, I'm not going to have a choice. I'm going to have to close the business down. I'm going to have to vacate the premises. There's no other way. And you know, I understand from her side, she's also got rent, you know, bills to pay through the banks and everything. So, but she's been really kind, and she's kind of put in for her workers and everything for them to get some relief. So she's giving us some relief as well. She said she doesn't want to see the gym closed. We've been here for a long time. We've been very loyal to her. She's been loyal to us. You know, we've brought a lot of people to this building because of our members and that. You know, she loves us so much that she's even opened up a small little coffee shop so that our parents can go and sit there during the classes and have coffee and snacks and everything. So, you know, she loves having us here. So it'll break her heart as much as would ours to vacate this space. But reality is, if this goes into next year, what do you do? You know, when is level 1 anticipated? At only level 1 are we allowed to operate. I can only have people in here then. So it's a bit of a sticky situation, but I know for sure after this business, us and probably a lot of other businesses are going to be in some sort of debt because we've had to find financial relief from other avenues besides the government. I know that MMA SA was putting in applications for full-time coaches and athletes to get some sort of relief from the government. So we're still waiting on that. I did put my application through with them. So we just got to wait. It's a waiting game.
I was going to ask you about that, Shane. I mean, the government, I'd spoken to a couple of members of the sports, arts and culture team regarding that 150 million rand sports relief on culture and arts relief fund. I was going to ask you, has there been anything from the combat sports fraternity, particularly MASA, MMA South Africa, to assist the likes of yourself?
Well, they did give us the application forms. Look, I know, like even now with a lot of people who are just applying for UIF and they're applying for other relief, everybody's waiting. It's not just the sports fraternity that's waiting, it's everybody's waiting. So, you know, our applications are in. MASA did come to the table, give us all of the application forms. We filled in all of the forms. We gave them all of the documents we needed to give. So they've got it. I can only assume that they've already handed that in, and now it's just us waiting for the government to participate.
In terms of your association with the Gracie name, has there been any sort of assistance from them? I mean, that's a global name. That's a global entity. Yeah,
look, they've been really awesome throughout this whole thing. They've given us a lot of opportunities for us and our members to log on and do live classes with some of the big names in the industry. They've also started a relief fund for all of the Gracie Baja schools around the world where you can actually do an application with them as well. All they're looking for is a letter from your landlord saying that there is like no income coming in and the landlord has become aware of it. So we've applied for that as well and put it in, and you can look. They're not going to give you 100% relief. They're talking at about a 50% relief, which is brilliant and really, really awesome from the organization.
So, I mean, obviously that's all the doom and gloom stuff around what's happening, not just locally, but internationally. On a sort of more positive note, if you're of that sort of mindset, UFC back, Dana White's intent to be the very first live sport fraternity to be up and running and operating almost to full capacity without fans, if I can call it that. Your immediate thoughts on what's been going down? I mean, 2 events done, a 3rd event coming up on Saturday. Your immediate thoughts?
I stand corrected. I think the WWE also did a show without audience.
Yeah, well, they've been doing a lot of tapings. Yeah, they've been doing a lot of tapings and recording that. And they started off in Florida. That was after the governor. He allowed it to be an essential service because it was a national sports federation for some reason. But and UFC's obviously jumped on that bandwagon. Hence, their 3 events taking place in Florida.
Look, I think it was brilliant. It was so good. It was so comforting. It's so, you know, to be able to see the sport that you love in action again and in live action, and the guys going at it. And to tell you the truth, I actually preferred it without the audience. You could hear all of the shots landing, and the banter, the in-cage banter was awesome. You know, if you look at Smith handing his teeth to the referee, and Teixeira busy speaking to him while he's busy doing it, it's just the job, and you know, that's awesome. That's awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so good to see the sport going again.
From a sports perspective, 100%. I mean, obviously, one of the big questions I wanted to ask you. I mean, you're a coach of athletes that have stacked up 5 amateur titles here in South Africa. There's a key question for me as a coach. So you look back at the first event on Saturday. You look back at this last event that took place sort of early hours of Thursday morning, Wednesday night. And in both those main events, you have situations where 2 of the athletes, we're talking Tony Ferguson, we're talking Anthony Smith, have walked away some serious injuries. And in many instances, there's been a lot of comments about, should the corners not have been there for the athletes, maybe thrown in the towel a little bit earlier, surely should have pulled the athletes out, seeing them being, you know, undergoing all of this damage coming from their opponent.
Look, the corners, for as a coach for myself, I don't speak about anyone else, but for myself, my fighter's health has always and will always be my number 1 priority. You know, if I see my fighter is not in a good place, I will sit with him in the corner and I'm going to tell him, but I'm going to call this fight. You're taking on too much damage. We must make sure that you don't get long-term problems from this. You know, but at the end of the day, it's also up to the fighter. You know, some of these guys are hard-headed, and you can say what you want in the corner, they're going to go and do their own thing. You know, so from a coach's perspective, yes, I would have spoken and I would have suggested, guys, you know, let's rather do this. I don't want you to go back in this round. But that's just me, you know. You could see, like, but Ferguson, I think, was a bit late. You could almost see when that orbital fracture came, which was at the end of the fight when he got tagged and he pulled away. You could see that was probably when the orbital fracture happened and the pain shot through his head. So that one was a little bit too late. But he took damage much before, a couple of rounds before that. With Smith as well, you know, Smith was sitting in the corner telling his cornerman that his teeth are loose.
Yes.
You know, I think my teeth or something like that. So there should have been some sort of discussion over there. It's like, do you want to, maybe we should just call this. But again, it's a big fight. You know, fighters don't want to walk away until they can't walk away. You know, like how many times have you heard a fighter say if they get in the cage, they're prepared to die in the cage? You know, so yes, I would have spoken to the guy and I would have put suggestions and I would have tried to steer the fight to rather stop and look after the fighter's health. But again, fighters are hard-headed, man.
Shane, this concept of fighters wanting to either, you know, go out on their shield. As a coach of youngsters, I mean, you've got quite a youth academy building up there at Valhalla through your various gyms. As a coach, that kind of mentality in, you know, instilling that in a young athlete, how do you feel about that as a concept? Because surely that starts breeding a different kind of individual.
Yeah, look, 100%. You know, with my kids, if there's any kind of slight injury, and you know, that's the awesome thing about IMF is the regulations that they're putting in place for all of the kids. You know, they started with all of us going through our certifications and our gradings now. They've also put forward now the proposal of all of the ongoing IMF tournaments that are going to happen. You have to be graded to a certain belt color at certain age levels to participate in that, which is great. And, you know, the safety that they have at the tournaments, you know, they'll stop fights if they just see that it's not going, like there's any kind of detriment to the youth health, let's say, which is good. Even in the gym over here, you know, we go, one of my mottos over here is enemy is the injury and tapping is, and getting the tap is the goal, you know. So learn to the point where you've got to tap and tap early so that you don't get injured. You know, we're very much in that kind of frame of mind over here. I don't allow my kids to go ballistic on each other. I always tell them tape it down, you know, especially when it comes to sparring with the kids. Even with my adults don't spar at 100% ever. I keep my adults sparring very light because I want them to do a lot more technical and use a lot more technicality and movement in their fights instead of going into a brawl situation. You know, I find in a brawl situation, they're not learning as much. I'd rather keep them busy all of the time, get their hand speed up. You know, I want their hit rate to be high. So, and their hit rates aren't high if they're backing up all the time because they're scared to get smashed all of the time. You know? There is a time before in our fighters fight camps that we do give them hard rounds with headgear on and shin guards and everything, but otherwise I don't promote the guys who's going hard. Even though we're in a hard sport, there is a level of hardness that comes with individuals that partake in this, and you know, that'll always be there, but it's up to us coaches to look after those individuals inside this space.
Well, Shane, I think that's fantastic sort of advice coming from someone who is, like I said before, building up a very, very good reputation in terms of your youth academy and what you've been doing with a lot of your youngsters, particularly in the grappling and the jits set. Final words from you, looking at what's taking place. I mean, we're almost at 50 days of lockdown here in South Africa. Your final thoughts to young athletes out there that are taking strain at this time, what would you advise?
My advice to the athletes, to the gym owners, to everybody, guys, we're in this together. Stay home. You know, look after each other. You might be healthy enough to push through this virus, but you might take this home to somebody who's not. So be smart about it. Look after yourself. Stay home. Only go out when you need to. Make sure you're washing your hands all the time. For all of the guys that are training or who are still members of the gym, help your gyms out, guys. If you can pay your fees, please do. You know, let's have something to go back to when this is all over. And for athletes and all of the kids, keep training. All of the videos that your coaches are sending, all of the Zoom sessions that you can get your hands on. Anytime you can get onto YouTube or anything, go and learn. Get yourself a little dummy you can make with a pillow. Go and do some ground and pound on that little dummy. Go and do submissions on the dummy. But keep training. Stay fit. When you're fit and when you're healthy, your immune system is strong. So keep it up, guys. Just keep training. This will end.
Oh, Shane, well, thanks so much for that sound advice coming from someone who's been there, who's trained some of the best young amateur fighters here in South Africa. Shane, I wish you all the best in the coming days. Hopefully, once this is all over, we can get you onto the show, the TV show live, a little bit of exposure for the gym, and get many people talking about what it is that you're doing out and about.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, brother. Have a good one.